Good morning and welcome to the Scenic Regional Council Ordinary Meeting for Wednesday the 10th of December, the last council meeting for this calendar year. I now declare the meeting open and begin by acknowledging the traditional owners on the lands in which we meet and pay respect to elders past, present and future. I believe there are no apologies for today, and we now welcome Pastor Josh Cox to say prayers. And I think, Pastor Josh, you're on with us online today.
Mayor and councillors and staff, thanks for the opportunity again. I just wanted to reflect briefly on this season of Advent as we think about the approaching or the coming, the arrival, that's what Advent means, of the end of the year. We're all madly preparing for that and for the arrival of 2026 as well. So I just want to read from Isaiah 9:6, which reminds us of another arrival by the prophet Isaiah. For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government will be upon his shoulder, and his name shall be called Wonderful, Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. So with this as a reminder of the coming of Jesus into our world and of this particular season that we're in and the bit of the craziness and the busyness of it, but also the joyousness of the occasion, let me pray and commit this meeting in particular in prayer. Lord Heavenly Father, thank you for this season of Advent. Thank you, Lord, that it allows us to prepare our hearts. Lord, in many ways, there's practical preparations, Lord. There's the finishing up of things for 2025 and the mad rush to do that and prepare for many of us for holidays, or at least a little bit of a break over Christmas. The preparations as we think towards next year and starting to plan in our minds what that looks like. So we pray for us in that, and Lord, as we prepare in our own hearts, Lord, for the reflections that we will have and the opportunities, Lord, of remembering you entering our world. We pray, Lord, for this meeting in particular. We pray that it'll be effective and efficient, that wisdom will be sought from you, Lord, in decision-making, in discussions. And Lord, we just commit it to you. I just want to pray, Lord, for all the mayor and the council and the staff, and I guess all of us at the Scenic Rim for safety and the blessedness of this Christmas time. And we ask and pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor Josh, and thank you for your association and support directly with the council over the course of the year. And thank you for your work within the people, supporting the people of this region. We greatly appreciate it, and we appreciate your words and your prayers and your wisdom that you share with us today. I wish you and yours all the very best for the season.
Well, thanks very much, and thanks for the opportunity.
Thanks, Josh.
Bid you farewell.
See you then. Bye-bye.
Thank you. I believe we have no questions on notice. Thank you. Declarable interests, there are none from the members. There are no announcements today. I don't believe we have any petitions to file. Go look for a motion for the confirmation of the minutes from the ordinary meeting for the 26th of November. Councillor Hay. Would you read your motion?
Sorry, it's too early. I move that the minutes of the ordinary meeting held on the 26th of November 2025 be adopted.
Thank you, Councillor. Seconder to the motion, Councillor Cryer. Any questions? Those in favour? Carried unanimously. There is no business arising. I now move to item 11.1 and call upon Councillor Sanders.
Morning, everybody. Thank you. I'm the first cab off the rank this morning. I hereby move that item 11.1. I'm going to go straight to the motion just because the introduction is very big. Option 1, that council receive and note the report titled MCU 25/021 RAL 25/010 material change of use for dual occupancy and reconfiguring a lot for subdivision 1 into 2 lots located at 16 Telemon Street, Beaudesert, formerly described as Lot 4 RP 54315. I did actually check that RP to make sure it was right. And 2, council approved development application MCU 25/021 RAL 25/010 and grant a developer permit for material change of use for a dual occupancy and reconfiguring a lot for subdivision 1 into 2 lots, subject to the conditions contained in section recommended conditions of approval of the report. And 3, council note that any subsequent requests for a negotiated decision notice and or further change applications to the approval MCU 25/021 and RAL 25/010 will proceed via delegated authority where the change would not significantly alter the original decision.
Thank you, councillor. Seconded to the motion. Councillor Chalk. Councillor Sanders, would you like to?
Actually, I might defer to the manager of planning and he can talk on this one if that's okay, just to give us a quick general update.
Through the chair, the development is for a dual occupancy and associated subdivision on the land there at Telemon Street. Happy to take any questions, but note the report is read.
Thank you. And I'll just note that we have discussed this one during a briefing session. We've had a look at the application with the dual houses on the site, and we do note that the site is constrained with some area that could flood into the backyard. I think they've mitigated as much as they possibly can. The proposed development generally complies with the requirements of the planning scheme and does not raise any significant issues that cannot be addressed by reasonable and relevant conditions. It has been recommended for refusal and the conditions are stated. Oh, for approval, I should say. Thank you.
You had me thinking there. Thank you, councillor. Anyone wishing to talk against the motion? Councillor Hay.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to speak against this. If we look at the plans for the 2 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom dwellings that are proposed, and I'll possibly refer to the manager of planning as well to confirm this. The boundary setbacks on one side for one house and the other side for the other house is 55 centimetres. Is that correct?
Through the chair, yes.
Yeah. 55 centimetres, for anyone who hasn't figured it out, is this far. So you have a wall and you have the boundary line. Does anyone really think that that's what the planning scheme intends when it has setbacks that are stipulated? I don't believe that that's what the intent is, even if that is only the garage wall that's so close to the boundary. The site is severely constrained due to the flooding overlays as well, which means that instead of doing one house at the front and one house at the back, it was necessary to consider doing 2 houses at the front. The lot frontages for both lots, I believe, are supposed to be, correct me if I'm wrong, 18 metres, and they're 11 point something, so they're 39% smaller than we're looking to achieve in that location. I find that's a little bit too big of a stretch for me to accept. Also, even though the dwellings are mirror image of each other, there are 3 bedrooms in each dwelling that look out onto the 3 bedrooms of the opposite dwelling, and I don't believe there's adequate privacy provisions on the line down the middle. Perhaps the manager could explain the mitigation for that, if there is any, please.
Through the chair, so the parts that are living between the shared boundary set back 1.5 metres as required by the planning scheme. So that's, I suppose, mitigation measure one. Aside from that, there has been a condition for screen fencing around the boundaries to try and provide some additional privacy.
Thank you. My laptop has just died, so I've got my notes on there, fortunately, so that's quite helpful. There is in the proposed conditions of approval, if we can scroll down to those, because I can't get them up on my laptop. No, we can read them on there.
Conditions start on page 7.
Page 8.
Okay, there. Yep, I'll have to do this from memory, given my laptop's failure. I believe there was a mention of permeability of the vegetation screen, and somewhere it says they need to achieve 98% permeability. I think the intent,
90%.
yeah, I think the intent is 90% non-permeability, isn't it? Permeability would be being able to see through it. Yeah, so it just there's another one as well which escapes me, but it's further down. The landscaping, I think it just says the land must be landscaped with suitable trees. It doesn't specify which area of the land, given that half of it is flood constrained. Are we looking to have landscaping across the entire 2 blocks that are proposed to be created, or are we looking purely to have vegetation in the area where the 2 proposed dwellings are to be located, given that there's no building envelope for either one?
Through the chair, so the landscaping is for the extent of the full boundaries. The landscaping option's been provided due to the potential flood hazard. They can, of course, go with a screen fence, but there would be an expectation that water's able to pass through that per the planning scheme requirements. That ongoing responsibility to comply with the flood hazard overlay code remains.
Okay. All right. If we could just have that condition, the 90% permeability wording changed, please.
How do you want to do it? I can't change it on here. I'll have to put it into the motion.
Yeah.
Councillor Kay, would you require much more time, or would you happy to sum up your
No, I
views
just think,
against the motion?
yes, but I'm all for infill development, but I just think this one's pushing the envelope a little bit too far, in my personal opinion, and for that reason I'll be voting against it and can't support the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hay. Anyone wishing to talk for the motion?
I'd like to speak. May I just ask a question, if I may?
If we could just, your question is for the officer or for council?
For the officer.
Okay, if we could just bear with us, councillor.
Thank you, Chair. My question is for the Manager of Planning, is this DA is essentially dual occupancy, application for a dual occupancy and with a subdivision component. So the lot is currently 1 lot, but after the DA it'll become 2 lots. My question is, if the subdivision had been carried out previously or was already in existence, would these 2 dwellings comply with the planning scheme and get approval? So if we split the lot down the middle and it had been subdivided previously, given we've got 2 4-bedroom dwellings very close to the boundaries, would it be acceptable as 2 separate DAs?
Through the chair, as it stands, because the garage is set back 1/2 metre from the shared common boundary, a necessary application would be a referral through their building application to council for non-compliance with the dwelling house code, in which case council officers would undertake an assessment against a PO within that dwelling house code to see if compliance could be achieved. The non-compliance is only with that garage, so that may result in either a reduction in that garage or potentially compliance with the design. But that would be a future assessment that would need to be undertaken if the land were subdivided and they were to undertake it in that sequence. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Hay, you have a question?
Yes, now I found my notes, thank you. Got to put this in the right sense. There's a shared driveway entry off the main street, and that makes sense if it was a dual occupancy. I'm assuming there's an easement at the front to accommodate the shared driveway, which will now spread across 2 separate blocks if this is approved. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Before we go any further, if Councillor Sanders and Councillor Chalk can just review the amended motion to see if they approve that.
I'm happy with that, Mr Mayor. Yep.
Thank you. Okay. Does anyone wish to talk to the motion?
I'll just round up the discussion if that's it.
Councillor Sanders?
Thank you. Councillor Hay always makes good sense, but just one of the things that we need to look at is we need to make sure we've got options for lower cost housing. A couple of families may be desperate for a home and they'll be looking at this sort of option. I know it's not ideal, but we'll try and do the best we can to mitigate the conditions or mitigate the issues and externalities that we have with this site. I know the federal government's 5% deposit has absolutely overheated the housing market in Australia, with some suburbs showing a 17% increase in value in 12 months. So what was supposed to help people get into the market has overheated the housing market and just make everything worse. So I don't know who came up with that option, but dual occupancy, look, we've got a housing crisis. Yes, we've got to have infill development. Sometimes it's not what we want. We've got to try and at least meet some of our growth strategy targets. The SEQ regional plan will be coming out with all sorts of changes soon. Now, the applicant here is a town planner. They really know their stuff, and I just wanted to round up the discussion with the approval, the recommendation for the approval. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Just note that 5% funding for the state government, that is only on properties up to the value of either, I think, $700,000 and $750,000. So it's not fueling anything above that in terms of demand. But having said that, I put the motion to the floor. Those in favour? And those against? Motion is carried. Can we call for a division, please? In favour, Councillor. Division 3, 4, 5 and 6, against the Mayor and Division 1 and 2. Thank you. And now move on to item 11.2 and call upon Councillor Cryer.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to introduce item 11.2, MCU 25/058, extension to currency period for development permit MCB D14/061 for material change of use for shopping centre at 1 to 33 Tamborine Mountain Road, Tamborine, described as Lot 1 SP 268147. take the report as read. I'd like to move straight to the motion that 1, council receive and note the report titled MCU 25/058 extension to currency period for development permit MCBD 414/061 for material change of use for shopping centre at 1 to 33 Tamborine Mountain Road, Tamborine, described as Lot 1 SP 268147, and 2, council refuse application MC 25/058 for the reasons presented. So, A, the proposed development has not commenced following multiple extensions to the currency period. B, the lack of committed interest from a suitable anchor tenant due to insufficient catchment size is considered to be an ongoing impediment to the site, resulting in further extensions to currency period likely. These extensions further erode public awareness of the development and the ability to raise submissions, particularly considering the impact accessible nature of the development. C, escalation in construction costs post-COVID-19 are not considered to be a relevant matter favouring approval of the extension. Associated works on the site have remained limited, and further time to conduct the approval is not considered to assist in reducing the cost to develop the site. D, internal resources tied up completing large-scale projects are not considered to be a relevant matter favouring approval of the extension. Other projects have been recently announced by the developer, indicating this may still remain an impediment to progress of the site. And E, construction timelines or other associated project management schedules have not been provided to demonstrate substantial commencement of works on the site. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor. Seconded to the motion. Councillor Hay. Councillor Cry, you wish to talk to your motion?
Yes, thank you, Chair, although I think everything has been covered in the conditions. In
the motion.
In the motion, reasons. So I don't think I really need to speak any further. Other than there is something also on page 35 that clearly states the MCU was originally approved in 2006, but on page 40 it is noted as only being 10 years in the paragraph. Given the time passed since the approval, 10 years, and change of planning scheme, it is important to review the approved development against the current planning provisions. I feel this should read as 19 years. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor. Is there anyone wish to talk against the motion? Any questions? Councillor McInnes?
Probably just a comment. I like the mover of the motion, have concerns how it's dragged on, that's for sure, but it's, I can fully understand their predicament where, you know, there just hasn't been enough growth in the area to get an anchor tenant, and it's just a non-negotiable really that they need a big tenant on that sort of thing, and they're locked into that, and if I was a developer I wouldn't be building it there at the present time with the catchment, so it's is that our fault? No, it's not. It's, you know, it's just the way things have happened, and it'll be interesting to see if we move forward, just when something like that might be built in that area, and the future growth. I appreciate from residents' point of view, they probably need something that's maybe not a big Coles or a Woolworths, but something reasonable size there for the population that is there at the present time. So I'll be supporting the motion, but I just think I can, as I said, I can appreciate the predicament the developer is in.
Anyone wishing to talk against the motion? Look, I will talk against the motion on the basis of supporting the views of actually the Deputy Mayor. I appreciate that we want to see the development going forward, but at the same time, if the commercial economics aren't there, how do you impose that upon someone? Is the opportunity there possibly for them to sell the land? Is someone else then going to come along and purchase and make the development come forward? What council does need to look at is the potential to accelerate the opportunity or incentivise the opportunity to get that sort of development into the region and explore those avenues. But at this stage, I don't see that that by not extending it is going to change the outcomes for the people of the Tamborine area. Anyone wishing to talk for the motion?
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to speak in favour of the motion in that this was first mooted 19 years ago and has benefited from multiple extensions of time, including the extensions granted under the COVID provisions. There has been minuscule movement towards progressing this in those 19 years. And the catchment area is highly unlikely to grow to such an extent in the next 6 years that the supermarket or a major tenant would be a viable option, in my opinion. So if those circumstances are not going to change significantly, all we're doing is delaying the inevitable. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone wishing to talk against the motion? No. Councillor Sanders, you wish to...
I was just going to say, goodness me, I agree with Councillor Hay. No, not. I quite often do. With this application, I think they can still go away, maybe consider their options and come back with a refresh, have a look at the planning scheme, see if there's any changes and put in a new application. I don't think we're stopping them in any way, shape or form. I think continuing in this way of just giving extensions is not helping anyone in the area. It doesn't promote anything. So I'll be supporting the motion as Councillor Cryer put up. Thank you.
Councillor Cryer, would you like to sum up?
Thank you, Chair. I just would like to thank all comments and input. I am hoping that future that development can be encouraged. I just feel that this is not encouraging development as it stands, because it continuing to extend is not really helping anyone except for the developer. So yeah, so thank you for the input.
I'll put the motion to the members. Those in favour? Against? Motion carried. Division. Call for a division. In favour, division 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Opposed, the Mayor. And now move to item 11.3 and call upon Councillor McGuinness.
Thanks, Mayor. I'd like to introduce 11.3 MCU 25/027, minor change to a development permit for material change of use involving extractive industry, including ancillary activities on land at Unnamed Road and Leach Road, Rosevale, and 299 Hayes Road, Silverdale, described as Lot 2, 7, 8, 10 and 18 on RP 50377 and Lot 1 of RP 51909. just as a lead into this motion, that before I move the motion, council is in receipt of a change of application for a minor change and an extension application to a development approval. It is MCB N17/006. Subject site is located on land at unnamed road on Leach Road, Rosevale, and 229 Hayes Road, Silverdale, described as lots 2, 7, 8, 10 and 18 on RP 50377 and lot 1 of RP 51909. I won't read it all, but the proposed change complies with the requirements of the Schedule 2 defined of minor change and the assessment provisions of Section 81 of the planning scheme. The proposed extension to the currency period complies with the assessment provisions of Section 87 of the Planning Act 2016. It is therefore recommended that Council resolve to approve the application's request. Just reading the recommendation, I take it that's been read by councillors, that 1, Council receive and note the report titled MCU 25/027 minor change to development permit for material change of use involving extractive industries, including ancillary service activities on land at unnamed road and Leach Road, Rosevale, and 299 Hayes Road, Silverdale, described as lot 2, 7, 8, 10 and 18 on RP 50377 and lot 1 of RP 51909. And 2, Council resolve the following in relation to the change application. A, Council agrees with the applicant's request to amend condition 49. B, Council refuses the applicant's request to amend conditions 19 and 24. C, Council provides clarification that condition 3 does not seek to limit the setbacks provided to the northern boundary of lot RP 50377 for the ancillary operation area, and D, all other conditions remain unchanged. And 3, Council approved the extension application to extend the currency period for a further 4 years until 26th of August 2029. May I so move that, and just to add something, I know a lot of the work is actually on the planning and surveying work going on that road, being just a few k's up the road from our place, so they're moving along with it, and I think it's pretty sensible what's been there in the motion to move forward with it. So I so move.
Thank you, councillor. We just note in part C, the northern boundary is lot 18, RP 50377. Thank you, councillor. Could I have a seconder to the motion? Councillor Moriarty. Councillor McInnes, would you like to talk to your motion?
This was approved a few years back now, and it's was approved a number of years back. It is a very big quarry there, 3.6 or 3.8 million tonne from memory. Not a few kilometres off the Cunningham Highway, but it's not interfering with what people have done, and the condition that we have recommended is sensible, and they're not big changes. And the other two, we believe it shouldn't be, for the ongoing benefit to council and ratepayers.
Thank you, councillor. Anyone wishing to talk against the motion? Any questions? Councillor McInnes, you don't wish to sum up any further?
I think I've said enough. Yeah.
Thank you. I'll put it to the members. Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Now move to item 11.4 and call upon councillor Moriarty.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to introduce Item 11.4, MCU 24/107, development permit for material change of use, hotel and shop extensions at 18 to 28, is that Kidston Street, and 7 Appel Street, Canungra, described as Lot 1 RP 213710 and Lot 20 RP 32081. Sorry, my eyesight's failing me. I'll just take the report as read and I'll introduce the motion as it stands. The council receive and note the report titled MCU 24/107, development permit for material change of use, hotel and shop extensions at 18 to 28 Kidston Street and 7 Appel Street, Canungra, described as Lot 1 RP 213710, Lot 20 RP 32081. 2, council approved development application MCU 24/107 and grant a development permit for a material change of use subject to the conditions outlined in this report. And 3, council note that any subsequent requests for a negotiated decision notice and or change applications to be approved. To the approval, MCU 24/107, as well as any administrative corrections to the conditions, will be processed via delegated authority where the changes would not significantly alter the original decision.
Thank you, councillor. Seconded to the motion. Councillor Hay. Councillor Moriarty, do you wish to talk to your motion?
Thank you, Chair. There's a fairly detailed report. This material change of use is to do with the Canungra Hotel. The application is due to increasing patronage and population increase around the township of Canungra. It's a reputable business and a focal point for the community. I note that the changes do include there'll be an overall increase in parking spaces and also overall increase in accommodation options for Canungra, which are very much needed. I can see no reason why we would not support this application, and so happy to present it and support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Anyone wishing? Councillor Hay?
Just a comment. I do speak in support of this motion. I note that the gaming area is increasing fourfold, yet the plans only show the currently approved number of poker machines. My understanding will be that if you increase the GFA for that area fourfold, you will be applying further down the track for an increase in the number of poker machines, but that's not a matter for council. I just make that observation. The only thing that I think from a close examination of this application that was missing was some suitable shade in the parking area, but I can live with that.
Thank you, councillor. Anyone wishing to talk against the motion? Councillor Moriarty, do you wish to sum up?
No, thank you, Chair.
I put it to the members. Those in favour? Motion carried unanimously. Thank you. Now call upon Councillor Sanders to introduce item 11.5.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Item 11.5, I'll introduce it in just a second. I just wanted to let everybody know that it's an extra 211 additional dwellings and communal facilities at Oakland Way. I'll move straight to option 1. That 1, council receive and note the report titled MCU 24/165, development permit for material change of use for a retirement facility, 211 additional dwellings and community facilities at the development application MCU 23-064 and grant a development permit for material change of use subject to conditions. And 2, council approve the development application MCU 24/165 and grant a development permit for material change of use subject to conditions. And 3, council note that any subsequent request for a negotiated decision notice and or change applications to the approval MCU 24/165, as well as any administrative corrections to the conditions, will be processed by delegated authority where the changes would not significantly alter the original decision.
Thank you, councillor. Just note a correction. It's in point 2. It's actually the approval for the development application MCU 23-064. Thank you. Could I call upon a seconder to the motion? Councillor Chalk, thank you. Councillor Sanders, would you like to talk to your motion?
Sure. You'll note on one of the plans that the road corridor alignment is showing on there. It's quite a substantial, if you need the page number 162, it's quite a substantial increase to the retirement facility. I think there's a lot of people waiting for this. They're lining up for them. Most items have been mitigated, especially things like stormwater. It is on a bit of a slope. I think this is for approval. It's been a long time coming, and that's it, sorry.
Any questions? Councillor Moriarty?
Thank you, Chair. I just make a comment, if I may, with regard to this particular DA, noting there's another 211 retirement style accommodation at Oakland Way. It's not so much with regard to the development, but just raising the issue again of stormwater drainage and stormwater runoff. So it's an issue in our town. We're experiencing development that, you know, at an unprecedented rate, and I really think as a council we need to review our stormwater management plans and how we're going to handle the increased stormwater runoff from all of these extra developments that are going on around the town. We only have to look back a few weeks to the storm on the Saturday night, I think in November, where we received upwards of 150 mils in some locations, and the flash flooding that occurred around the town, and to see that we're never too far away from a flash flooding situation, and in the township, and all of this concentrated flow from the developments around town are only going to increase that in the future. So I'm really just raising that point, raising awareness of the impacts of some of these developments, and while it might not directly influence the vote on this particular development, I do think we need to be reviewing our stormwater plans and processes moving forward as soon as possible to ensure that we minimise the impacts. Thank you.
Noted, and thank you, Councillor. Councillor Hay?
Just a comment and a question, if I may. I note in the conditions that there is mention of staging at condition number 6, development in stages, and it's good to see that the community facilities won't be left to the very last moment, and that they must be built in the, I think it's the second last stage. That's a positive step towards those people who will move in before the entire development is completed.
Thank you. Anyone wishing to talk against the motion? Councillor McInnes.
Yeah, probably just a comment, Mayor. I think it was Councillor Sanders before suggested about the previous subdivision we had on just up the road here. This will actually help alleviate the housing crisis to a certain extent. I see some of the older people that who might be going in here, and they'll just free up housing for others, and hopefully young ones to get into the market. So hopefully I believe it's a positive step for the town.
Thank you, Councillor. Anyone wishing to talk against the motion? Councillor Sanders, would you like to sum up? Or anything further?
Mr. Mayor, I have been and talked to a lot of residents at Millers Glen. They really enjoy living there. They're becoming part of the community. They absolutely embrace the area. I think, I believe Councillor McGuinness is spot on. This will help alleviate some of the pressure for families that need larger houses. It'll give these people the ability to have downsize a little bit, and it may help meet our growth targets. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor. I put it to the members. Those in favour? Motion carried unanimously. Now call upon councillor Moriarty to introduce item 11.6.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to introduce item 11.6, MCU 23/064, development permit for reconfiguring a lot, other change from 64 lots to 88 lots at Erica Court and Monza Street, Beaudesert, described as Lot 2 RP 826229 and Lot 902 SP 281109. I'll take the report as read and introduce the motion that council receive and note the report titled MCU 23/064 development permit for reconfiguring a lot, other change from 64 lots to 88 lots at Erica Court and Monza Street, Beaudesert, described as Lot 2 RP 826229 and Lot 902 SP 281109, and 2. Council reviews development application MCU 23/064 for the reasons presented. A, the proposed development conflicts with the local planning instrument Scenic Rim Planning Scheme 2020 as amended 30th of June 2023 for the following reasons. The proposed development conflicts with the purpose and overall outcomes 2A, C, E, F, L, I think that is, and J of the landslide hazard and steep slope overlay code. 2, the proposed development conflicts with the performance outcome 12, PO 12, and performance outcome 13, PO 13 of the landslide hazard and steep slope overlay code. 3, the proposed development conflicts with the purpose and overall outcomes 2B of the reconfiguring a lot code. And 4, the proposed development conflicts with the performance outcome 13, PO 13 of the reconfiguring a lot code. B, approval would not resolve the conflict between the benchmarks and the above non-compliances. And C, compliance cannot be achieved by imposing development conditions.
Thank you, councillor. Seconded to the motion, councillor Sanders. Councillor Moriarty, you wish to talk to your motion?
Not too much, Chair, other than to say that the original approval for 64 lots was probably somewhat concerning to fit another 24 lots in there in the location, given the geotechnical report and the geography and geology of that location. I think would be foolhardy for this council to approve it, and I am very concerned about ongoing in the future of council being liable for remediation works should things in the development go awry in the future. So I think I thank the officers for coming up with the reasons presented and stand by those reasons as a reason for refusal. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor. Any questions or comment? Councillor Sanders?
Yeah, I do. I concur with Councillor Moriarty on this one. The geotech report shows that there's issues there. I think 64 was, they were really lucky to get approval for 64. I don't think we need to go any higher density on this, especially having a look at that site. I think all councillors have been to the site and had a look, and we all share the same concerns, even with 64 lots there. So I think enough is enough. I think 64 is great. Let's leave it at that and see how this pans out.
Question, councillor Hay?
Just a comment, if I may. I'd speak in support of the motion. Councillors have visited the site and viewed it from the publicly accessible points, and it's quite frightening. The slope, I believe, drops from the top to the bottom by more than 50 metres, which is a fairly significant change in elevations across the site. It's never going to result in affordable housing, which is one of the things that we're looking at to promote, given that this, from the geotech report for each individual lot, this will be a particularly challenging site to build upon, given the slope, the need for retaining walls and the batters, and the possibly very specialised footings on some sites. So I don't think this is a particularly good example of a development, particularly on that site. And it is an excellent example of why councillors should do site visits before they vote on anything. Thank you.
Anyone wishing to talk against the motion? Councillor Moriarty, do you want to sum up?
No, thank you, Chair.
I put it to the floor. Those in favour of the motion? Carried unanimously, thank you. Call upon Councillor Cryer to introduce item 11.7.
Thank you, Chair. I'll just scroll to it. I would like to introduce item 11.7, RAL 24/038, change other development permit for reconfiguring a lot subdivision of 2 into 273 lots over 9 stages located at 6,605 Mount Lindsay Highway, Gleneagle, described as lot 9003 SP 338322 and lot 9004 SP 338324. I take the report as read, and I will move to the motion that 1. Council receive and note the report titled RAL 24/038, change other development permit for reconfiguring a lot subdivision of 2 into 273 lots over 9 stages located at 6,605 Mount Lindsay Highway, Gleneagle, described as lot 9003 SP 338322 and lot 9004 SP 338324. 2. Council approve change application RAL 24/038 and grant a development permit for reconfiguring a lot subject to the recommended conditions. And 3. Council note that any subsequent requests for a change application to the approval RAL 24/038 as well as any administrative corrections to the conditions will be processed via delegated authority where the changes would not significantly alter the original decision.
Thank you, Councillor. Seconded to the motion. Councillor Moriarty. Councillor Cryer, would you like to talk to your motion?
Yes, thank you, Chair. The subject site is known as Eucalypt, and it is requesting a development permit for reconfiguring a lot within the low-medium density residential zone at Gleneagle. The application is subject to impact assessment due to non-compliance with average lot size as specified in Table 9.4.3.6.2, which is for a minimum lot size and design. Reduced frontages down to 14 metres for some lots are also of concern, with approximately 2 lots out of the requested 28 lots over 5 of the 9 stages at the threshold of the minimum lot size of 450 metres square, and 6 lots are below the minimum lot size requirement and they are 448 metres squared. So the purpose of the change is to modify the current approval, which currently allows for subdivision into 245 lots, to include the additional 28 lots over the 5 of the 9 stages. The application was publicly notified for 15 business days in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act 2016, with 62 properly made submissions and 16 not properly made submissions received. All of the submitters were concerned about the Day Road Reserve becoming a road access rather than with the additional lots within the development. As part of the conditioning for this application, therefore, a requirement for Stage 9 is to amend the approved plans to remove the constructed road access connection to Day Road. Lockable bollards will be installed at the boundary of this access connection to prevent the movement of unauthorised vehicles, which should alleviate the local residents' concerns with this issue. So although the average and minimum lot sizes are of great concern and have triggered an impact assessment, the proposed development has demonstrated compliance with the relevant provisions of the Scenic Rim Planning Scheme 2020 as amended on the 30th of June 2023 through their submission of certain materials within the application and as outlined within this report. So not the best outcome in relation to the requirements of the planning scheme, but it has led to the recommendation for approval being the stronger option. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Any questions? Councillor Hay.
One question to the Manager of Planning. Where will the stormwater discharges end up from this development, please?
Through the chair, so the stormwater for the Euclid development drains to the west to the site. So as you'd see on the approved plans, there's large green strips of land towards the west between the highway and the estate, and that's where the stormwater for the development drains.
Just a further question. It's quite clear, and the developer has stated that the 3 large lots, which are in excess of 1,000 metres each, will be further subdivided in the future for terrace housing or villas, whatever you want to call them. And to my calculation, I think that each of those 3 lots will end up with at least another 5 houses on them, joined together. So that will be an additional 15 lots. So when we look at working out the minimum lot size and whether they're compliant or not, and they're not all compliant with that at the moment, if you took those extra 15 future subdivided lots into account, the minimum lot size for those will be smaller, but it also will reduce the average lot size significantly, in my opinion. So by doing this in 2 stages, one to get this over the line, and then further down the track applying to have further subdivision of the 3 very large lots, it really is a little bit of smoke and mirrors, in my opinion, and I find that fairly objectionable, even though our planning scheme intends that the larger lots will eventually be for alternate dwelling types. So my comment is that our planning scheme possibly needs a fairly quick remedial bit of attention there, so that it's quite clear as to how many lots we're going to end up with ultimately, given that we're going to end up with another application for this same site. Thank you.
Anyone wishing to? Yes, Councillor Moriarty.
Oh, thank you, Chair. It must be the day to hop up on my soapbox. I'm not going to.
You got a question or comment?
Oh, comment.
But are you talking in favour, or are you going to talk to the motion then?
Oh, look.
Well, let me put it this way. Is there someone wishing to talk against the motion?
Can I make a comment?
Please.
Thank you,
Talking
sir.
against the motion?
No, I'm not speaking against the motion.
So you wanted to speak in for the motion?
Give me a second. I won't.
No, go ahead, Councillor. It's just draw the members. A lot of people wishing to talk in favour of the motion, but just remember the for and against. If you wish to raise questions, please do so. But comments should be really restricted around talking for and against the motion. Please, Councillor Moriarty.
Okay. So I just want to raise, in this particular development, the traffic impacts for this number of vehicles. So with the last one I spoke about stormwater runoff, it basically boils down to development without adequate infrastructure. So the location of this particular development, ultimately there's going to be access, I believe, out onto Fields Road and then potentially Gould Hill Road through Burnham Range Road, Flagstone Creek Road onto Desert Beanley Road. The reality is for all of these developments, if they, I'm not speaking just to this one, but all those track, if they want to go to the Gold Coast, they're going to end up going through Canungra. We're all aware of the situation in Canungra. So again, I'm just taking the opportunity to raise, I'm not speaking against this particular development or this particular motion, but just want to raise the issue of the necessity to get some roads infrastructure to accommodate all this new development. Thank you.
Point of infrastructure as requirement for this region is noted. Thank you, Councillor Moriarty. Anyone wishing to talk against the motion? Councillor Cryer, would you like to sum up?
Thank you, Chair. No, I don't have anything further to add. Thank you.
I put it to the members. Those in favour of the motion? Those against? Motion is carried. Call for a division. In favour, the Mayor, Division 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Against Division 1. Thank you. Now call upon Councillor Moriarty to introduce item 11.8.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to introduce item 11.8, extension of road network Graham's Dip Road. I'm proposing an alternate motion to that was originally brought forward in the agenda. That motion being that one, Council complete an assessment of Graham's Dip Road, Biditaba, in the 2025-2026 financial year to determine the works required and associated cost to upgrade the road to a 5D standard. Two, Council provide funding in its 2026-2027 budget to upgrade the entire length of Graham's Dip Road, approximately 1,000 metres, to a 5D standard. And on completion of these works, this additional section of Class 5D rural access road will be added to Council's road asset register. Three, Council will provide funding in future budgets for the ongoing maintenance of Graham's Dip Road. And four, Council will make application to Department of Transport and Main Roads to determine requirements regarding any intersection treatments to Narang Road and complete these works as part of the road upgrade.
Thank you, Councillor. Could I have a seconder to the motion? Councillor Hay.
Can I foreshadow an amendment too, please, Mr Mayor?
You wish to foreshadow? Yes, you can foreshadow an amendment to the motion. Councillor Moriarty, do you wish to talk to your motion?
I would like to. Thank you, Chair. I note that Council's in a receipt of a request from 4 property owners on Graham's Dip Road to have the road maintained by Council. The request is not necessarily to upgrade the road to a 5D standard, but that's a standard that's imposed by Council's road policy. For 3 of the property owners, Graham's Dip Road is the only access to their properties, but there are a total of 8 properties with frontage to Graham's Dip Road who would potentially benefit from an upgrade to the road, and Council taking responsibility for the maintenance of the road. I note in the report it states that from time to time Council has received requests to accept an unconstructed road as a Council asset, and each request is assessed on a case-by-case basis. Each assessment takes into account the standard of the current track, any historical work and carried out by Council, and the basis for work carried out. I would suggest that a further consideration should also be given to the number of properties that are road services and the amount of general rates and infrastructure charges the residents and ratepayers using the road pay annually. And in the case of Graham's Dip Road, for these rates and other fees and charges and infrastructure charges are paid for practically no maintenance road at all. Given that the total rates and charges for all 8 properties with frontage to Graham's Dip Road would be in the many tens of thousands of dollars annually, I feel that this lack of road maintenance is unacceptable. I note also that a review of a previous development within the area has identified a contribution of $3,000 was received by Council in 1993 for a road contribution towards Graham's Dip Road, and that Graham's Dip Road is listed in the 2010 edition of the Scenic Street Directory. I note in the report it states that upon further review of the directory, it has been confirmed that the majority of Council's unmaintained 5G roads are also identified within this publication. This is true, but it's not strictly accurate, as the maintained sections of road, which are described as unsealed roads, are highlighted in yellow in the street directory, whereas the unmaintained roads are clear. I note that Graham's Dip Road in the street directory is highlighted in yellow. Furthermore, there are precedents for council accepting sections of road onto council's asset register, such as Left Hand Branch Road at Carey. In the report, it states that the ordinary meeting held on September 2017, council resolved to accept Left Hand Branch Road as a maintained road. Prior to this resolution, the road had been classified as unmaintained. It is proposed that council maintain Left Hand Branch Road from its intersection with Carey Road to a length of 5,937 metres, comprising a 5D road, rural access standard, for a length of approximately 1,160 metres, with the remainder of the road comprising a 5E rural formed road standard. I also note the report provides some examples in the last 12 months where council has accepted extension to the roads register under provision of road network policy, whereby the applicants have applied to have the road added and paid for the upgrade, with council then taking responsibility for the ongoing upkeep and maintenance of the road. The examples include Pamplings Road at Peak Crossing, a section of 300 metres, which was in the ordinary meeting of September 2023, more than 12 months ago. And I note that 300 metres was servicing one single property, and potentially fair enough for the landholder to pay for the upgrade. A section of unnamed road at Carney's Creek of 800 metres was passed at the ordinary meeting on May 2024. I believe that services one property and it was one landholder, and the road still remains unconstructed. No funds have been transferred and the road is not yet on council's asset register, so that has not progressed. The third example given in the report, Mitchell Road at Bromilton, 800 metres, which was passed on the ordinary meeting on May 2024. That road is being constructed as part of the SDA, State Development Area at Bromilton, by a national company, which is hardly a fair comparison with Graham's Dip Road. These examples are simply not comparing apples with apples and bear no similarity to Graham's Dip Road, not least of all due to the $3,000 road contribution received by council in 1993. And the nearest apple, or should I say road, that I can compare Graham's Dip Road to is Clark Road in the same location, just a few hundred metres away, that services less properties, but yet is maintained by council. Finally, I note in the conclusion to the report presented today states that an initial assessment of the application has revealed the proposal is acceptable and the road would be required to be constructed to a Class 5D rural access standard. A Class 5D road is a rural unsealed road and with a minimum acceptable service standard of 5.5 metres wide of unsealed gravel pavement. Typically daily traffic amounts for this road would be between 2 and 80 vehicles. The road is approved, would service 3 lots directly and a total of 8 indirectly that do not currently have council maintained road access. I note also the addition of 1,000 metres of Class D rural access road to council's maintainable road asset register will cause a minimal increase in road maintenance cost, estimated to be in the order of $5,850 per annum. That's the ongoing maintenance of Graham's Dip Road moving forward into the future.
Could you just repeat that figure, Councillor?
It states in the report that the addition of 1,000 metres of Class 5D rural access road to council's maintainable road asset register will cause a minimal increase in road maintenance costs, estimated to be in the order of $5,850 per annum. Finally, I note council currently has around 390 kilometres of 5D roads in the region. I would suggest that adding 1 kilometre of Graham's Dip Road to 391 kilometres is a fairly insignificant addition, and the ongoing maintenance would be also not significant.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Sanders, your foreshadowed maelstrom, did you still want to consider that, given?
Yes, please.
And what are you proposing?
I'm just foreshadowing an amendment, Councillor Moriarty's put his motion, and my motion would be as per item 1 on the
That's alternative motion.
That's the
An
alternative
alternative
motion. Sorry,
motion,
big pardon. Okay,
not
thank
an
you.
amendment. Okay, So there's no amendment.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. We have a seconder. Anyone wishing to talk against the motion? Councillor Chalk.
Yeah, I will, Mr Mayor. First of all, the motion itself. So I don't know how councillors would support the motion as it's structured as it is. It's in point one, it asks to complete an assessment of Grey Nips Road, and then the next 3 points is a commitment to something that we have got no idea what it would cost or how we're going to pay for it. So I'm not sure how in good governance would pass a motion structured like that. So that's the first point. Second point, this, if it was to go ahead, would be a financial burden on all ratepayers to upgrade this road. We've done a different way for a long time, so I think it would be a departure in our policy. So I'm not supportive of that either. So currently we're probably in a deficit position in our budget. So this would add costs that would be impactful for all residents. And as said, to start with, the motion itself really shouldn't be supported as it stands from anybody in the room. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Anyone wishing to talk for the motion? Any questions? Councillor Moriarty, would you like to sum up?
Mayor, could I speak against the motion? Yeah.
We've just had it against the motion. Is there anyone wishing to talk for the motion? For or against?
I thought our practice was that if there's none from the other side, others could speak for or against it.
I'm just trying to encourage everyone to get in for and against, but we'll be pretty liberal and allow you to speak. Councillor McGuinness.
What you replied, Mayor?
Please. I said,
Thank
just
you.
to repeat, trying to stick to the for and against.
Yeah, I agree.
But we've been pretty liberal, so there's no reason to allow to,
Yeah,
given today, we'll allow you to speak.
I agree with you there. My big worry about this resolution is that we actually set precedents, and if I maybe go back to left-hand branch road, and I am pretty sure, I can't say 100%, I don't know whether Shane or anyone here can correct me, when we actually took on that road, it was an alternate route to where we'd had another road that was costing us money from memory, and we took that. That was the reason, and apart from that, I can think of no other road that we have taken on that we've actually done the other. I've got a couple of roads close to me where we used to maintain and now we don't maintain. It annoys me and others that it's not maintained, but it's a good shortcut, but there are costs involved. I've got a road leading to one of my properties where we pay $5,000-7,000 rates a year, no access at all, and we wouldn't in our wildest dreams expect to have access there either. And it's enough for what we need for that property, and why should council be compelled to be looking after that? I think there'll be a flood of applications if we approve this. I know there's a number of people looking around the place and watching very closely if we go and do this, and I've had phone calls in the last week, of people wanting to actually have their road graded and maybe put a house up there in time, and it's very obvious that sort of these places, once it is maintained in council's hands, there'll be houses going up there and on it'll go, and that's people's right to do that once it is, but it really worries me. I think it's one of the most retrograde steps as a councillor that if we agree to this, I think it'll just end up costing us a lot of money, and future councils costing them a lot of money too. So I'll certainly be voting against the motion.
Thank you, Councillor. Would the members with their indulgence, and then now that we're a little bit out of order, would they allow me to respond to Councillor McInnes's comments? Well, I'll take note, not so much speaking for, but would be making a request. I note Councillor Chalk's comments, and the open comment in particular, and the one thing that concerns me about this motion is that you're looking to make a financial assessment on the road, and yet you're putting in favour an action without knowing what that outcome is. I don't think it is an unreasonable expectation that we should understand what we're dealing with before we commit to an action. I do, however, disagree with Councillor McInnes's comments to some degree, that I agree with the policy as it stands, but the policy has an intent. And I believe every story or issue in some situations have its own story. And this particular road is not matching the intent of the policy. I think there are a number of constituents on that road. I believe history dictates that they've made a contribution in the past to have that road included in the register and maintained. It would appear that the history has been lost or is not being presented to council, and that those ratepayers, which there are a number of them, and yet in other areas of this, other parts of the region, we are servicing roads that have less number of constituents living on that road, and they are paying considerable rates and would have an expectation to have right of access and have that road maintained. So I'm actually pressing towards the councillor in acknowledgement of Councillor Chalk's earlier comment. There has to be some logic approach to this motion, that Councillor Moriarty will consider an amendment particularly around 1.1 in terms of making an assessment for us to take actions without knowing what that assessment is. That is my concern.
Mr. Mayor, I did get myself a little bit confused. I did believe that I could move an amendment, but with your indulgence, I would also like to speak. Is that possible?
You may, Councillor.
Thank you. I do see this as a deviation from the policy, and we are agreeing to something. You know, how long is a piece of string? We just don't know what it is. I think we are deviating from the policy and the intent of the policy as well. So council will accept requests from owners to build roads, and then as long as it's been built to the correct standard, it can be transferred to our own register and maintained. Over the last few years, council received numerous requests for the inclusion of Graham's Dip Road onto council's maintainable road asset register. However, the road was never built and not maintained to standard, and therefore not been included in the maintained road listing. And while there was a contribution 30 years ago, it was a road contribution, and I think a lot of us have paid road contributions and made our own roads. If council were to undertake to maintain these roads, the cost at this current time would be an extra $66 million per year. Even if we added a couple of roads just each year, this would mean a huge increase in rates each year, and all ratepayers would subsidise the few who use these types of roads. It's a rate burden that individuals just couldn't bear. And some of the roads on the list are Back Creek Road at Palin Creek, Butt Road at Mugra, Hills Cutting Road at Carneys Creek, and Sarabah Road at Sarabah. And so as councillors, we always want to vote on the best interests of the entire community, not just 0.001% of the community, or indeed for our own needs and desires. We know that Sarabah Road needs upgrading. We know that there's that we would have to divert from our council position. We've not budgeted for this. We need additional funding. We'd have to lift the rates for every single person in the region. We're in a deficit budget, so this will cost all of us. So every man, woman and child has to pay for this people. And while look, I totally understand that people are affected. Some of these things were built years and years ago. There's 1 or 2 houses on them. That was when they used to cut up a block and cut a couple of trees and drop them over to make a bit of a bridge. And now council has to step in, maintain roads, bridges, or even rebuild them. If it's that type of money, this could eventually bankrupt a little council who's already in deficit. The consequences of deviating from our position are quite huge, and I'm not quite sure if that's where we want to go.
Thank you, councillor.
Yeah, Paul's right.
Councillor Moriarty, do you want to leave your motion as it stands, or would you consider an amendment in particularly to point 1 with the assessment being put before bringing it into the asset register, or the actions required to upgrade the road without the assessment being done? Would you look to review that amend that motion?
Sorry, I'm a little bit unsure what you're asking. Sorry, Chair, can you repeat that?
I make the point, you're looking to introduce an upgrade to Graham's Dip Road as well as bringing onto the asset register, but we don't have an assessment cost of what that is going to impact council. So I'm asking do you want to leave your motion as it stands, or would you be willing to consider an amendment to that motion that would...
So through this, Mayor, if you can just give us a moment. Through Mr. Mayor, it's probably not appropriate to change the motion that's on the table at this point in time. Sort of cut and paste, because you've got someone who's foreshadowed an alternative motion. Again. Director?
For my mind, there are 2 different motions afoot there. Item number 1 is an action that seeks to commit funds and actions in the current budget year. Items 2, 3 and 4 are a second piece of work and a second action that commit future requirements and actions of council. So essentially, to amend item 1 really does change what items 2, 3 and 4 do. They're not necessarily dependent upon each other. So I would suggest an amendment to the motion.
You would suggest an amendment to the motion?
Sorry, yeah, I would not suggest an amendment to the motion.
Mr. Mayor, is it possible for the Director of Infrastructure Services to talk on, he's got some history of this type of road being added to registers, and I was hoping he might be able to talk about the fact that we're deviating from our policy, but how the consequences of that. Is that possible or not?
I'm happy for the officer to talk to the policy, and in terms of how the council can make its own determinations regarding the policy, but also the budget impacts on that policy going forward.
Thank you, Councillor. Through you, Mr. Mayor. Essentially, councillors, the officer's recommendation is in alignment with the adopted policy position for the council. That policy position does state that council would consider the upgrade and bringing of roads onto our asset register in the event that the residents who are serviced by that road perform the capital upgrade. There is a 12-month defect liability period, and at the extinguishment of that defect liability, it would effectively be assessed as an appropriate, if it is assessed being at an appropriate standard, council would then accept it onto our asset register at a 5D standard for ongoing maintenance. There's two components to the. So look, and at the end of the day, councillors, the policy is your policy. I've said to you in briefings, and I think perhaps in ordinary meetings before, that the best advice that I or any other officer can give you is that a policy position is only as strong as its consistent application. The question really is whether the policy positions of council are still the policy positions that you wish to drive and uphold. And whether they are contemporary and they are reflective of this current council's position on a range of matters, and that could be everything from roads right through to community grants, etc., etc. In terms of the funding questions, Mr. Mayor, so there's two elements. One is the capital upgrade component, and the other is the maintenance, the ongoing maintenance. I think I'd referenced 68 kilometres in an early conversation. That's incorrect. It's stated in the report it's 63 kilometres of this road which are known to council at this point in time. We give a notional figure of around $1 million per kilometre for an upgrade. That is, as I said, notional, given that there'd be culverts and other bits and pieces that would need to be ground truthed at the time that we went into actually look at detailed construction standards for any section of road, any length of road. But typically we would allocate around $1 million per kilometre. That would give rise to the 63 million, 60 plus $1 million that's been referenced here for capital upgrades. The ongoing maintenance upgrades would then be an operational cost that would be borne by council on an ongoing basis, which is around a couple of $1,000s per kilometre for a graded road, depending on the maintenance schedules, how many houses are serviced, where it sits on the hierarchy of maintenance, and how often we actually intended on performing either some ad hoc or full maintenance and grading of those roads. I might ask the Acting Manager, Transport and Assets, if he has any further comments, if that's all right. Thank you.
Councillor Moriarty.
Thank you, Chair. Just there's a couple of issues, and the first issue is, as I said during my earlier comments, we're just not comparing apples with apples when we're comparing this road with other roads. The reality is Clark Road, just up the road on the other side of Bettersonang Road, is a council-owned maintained road and services less properties than Graham's Dip Road. So where is the equity in that? So how can we justify and condone that? The other thing with the current policy is there's only one option available to people. Now, what I'm getting back to is this is a case by case. I'm not asking for a change in policy. I'm not asking for all 63 kilometres of unmaintained roads to be added to council's asset register and be upgraded and maintained. This road is slightly different for the reasons I outlined earlier to other roads that might come under the policy. The question I have is this. So under the current policy, the road can be upgraded and accepted at the applicant's expense. That's the current policy. But also in the current policy, it states the council does not condone or accept any responsibility for any work carried out on a section of roadway without its written approval. The section of roadway will not be maintained or improved in any manner by council. Council may remove or render impassable the road section if a safety risk to the public has been created. Council may seek restitution of damages generated by works undertaken without approval, including compliance and legal action. My question is this to everyone in the room, anyone who wants to answer it. How can we have a policy where the only option, if someone happens to own land or live on one of these roads, the only option they have is to pay for a road upgrade of $1 million if it's a kilometre of road at their own expense? They have no option to maintain their road themselves. And if they do try and maintain the road themselves or carry out works, they're leaving themselves open to a compliance or legal action from council. Who then is responsible for this road? I'm trying to get to the bottom of who these people live on a road. It's been subdivided at some point. There's there's a road to their properties which is frequently being used, council's denying responsibility for it. The landowners themselves aren't allowed to upgrade the road. I had another gentleman out at Carey at Duck Creek Road contact me just a day or so ago, who's also having compliance issues with council because he's maintaining an easement across his own land, and he's been told he's not to do that. So if council aren't going to maintain it, the landholders aren't allowed to maintain it, how the heck are people getting access to their properties and whatever? Now, I go back to my original comments about Grahamsted Road. It's just different, as you alluded to yourself, Chair. There's a history. There's money changed hands back in the early 90s. There's the road is fenced. There's electricity poles going down. There's infrastructure. There'll be emergency vehicles. If there's a bushfire emergency, we'll have fire trucks and everything racing down Grahamsted Road. Someone is responsible for their road at some level. And Energex want to do power works. Energex drive down it. In fact, council, when they're doing road works on Betters at Nerang Road, along there on the shoulders, council vehicles park up on the road. Graders and rollers and everything frequently park in there, which you can imagine how that goes down with the constituents, the people that live along there. So, I'm just trying to get to the bottom of what are these people supposed to do if we don't accept responsibility for the road.
Thank you. All right, and thank you, Councillor Sanders, for the question of the officer, because I suppose through that, that cleared up in terms of any assessment costs and impact on council going forward.
Mr. Chair, just, sorry, there was a bit more that I wanted to ask for. Apparently there's a bit of history with something that happened in Tenterfield, which was along the same lines as this one. I understand Councillor Moriarty's frustration. I think what we really need to do is discuss this. I know you don't want to defer it and all that sort of stuff, but it seems like we're definitely not comparing apples with apples when you've got questions like that from around the policy. So there is more to discuss. We're definitely not comparing like with like, because you've mentioned several other different things and problems and issues that people have with maintaining the roads. Maybe we do need to have a little bit more of a discussion. But for me, I was going to ask the officer again if he could give us a bit more of that history. But also, as councillors, I believe we also have to act for the betterment of the entire community, not just for, a couple of people on that road. Again, we don't want to add in a burden for everybody. It's not the right thing to do. We've got to think of everybody and sustainability of the council when we're having these discussions. So I might defer to you to see whether the council officer wants to add more information.
Thank you, Councillor, and thank you, Officer. Look, it's been very liberal and we're very much out of sync now. I've allowed Councillor Moriarty to sum it up. We have the motion on the table. I'll put it to the members with all questions having been answered. I'll put it to the members. Those in favour of the motion? Those against the motion? Can we call for a division, please? Four is the Mayor, Division 1, Division 2, Division 3, against Division 4, 5, 6, motion carried. Thank you. Moving on to item 11.9 and call upon Councillor Chalk to introduce that, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll introduce report 11.9, which is heading Local Government Infrastructure Plan, Planning Assumptions and Proposed Changes to Priority Infrastructure Areas. I'll take the report as read and move the motion that Council endorse the updated population and dwelling growth projections across the Scenic Rim region as the basis for infrastructure planning and future local government infrastructure plan amendments.
Could I call on a seconder to the motion. Councillor Moriarty. Councillor Chalk, you wish to talk to your motion?
No, thanks, Mayor.
Anyone questions arising? Councillor Hay.
Thank you, Chair. I did submit a question regarding the figure for the total dwelling growth 2025 to 2026 for Division 1, which is stated to be 3 dwellings for the entire year. I've not had a response on how that was worked out, so I'm unable to support the motion given that I have questions about the veracity of the information contained in it.
Through you, Mr Mayor, which officer did it end up going to? It came to me, but I think there may have been a mistake in relation to, I think it was sent to Sean. Is that correct?
I forwarded on to the officers for a response. It doesn't say which officers.
Okay. Some of the emails that came in referred this matter to Sean. It's not a Sean matter. It's a Shane matter. So I don't know. Have you got that question, Shane?
Chair, Acting Manager, Capital Transport and Assets. Yes. So the additional dwellings in our projections was taken into consideration from a whole of council point of view of land with appropriate approvals, residential land within the urban footprint, and the residential land that can be subdivided. In relation to secondary dwellings in the infill development, currently from a data point of view, it is difficult to model across the board, and as part of our overarching assumptions for council, we've utilised a history of those type of approvals against all development there. To try to apply it back against a divisional base that doesn't meet that criteria of land within the urban footprint or can be developed, we applied an average across all the different suburbs and all the rest of it. So that information was dissected by that, and through overarching is correct, but that for Tamborine is applied the same as every other suburb within the region.
Clear as mud. Thank you.
Councillor. Any other questions?
Yes, thank you,
Councillor
Chair.
Moriarty.
I also forwarded a question on which I haven't received a response to, but perhaps was directed at the wrong person, and I apologise if I'm putting the manager on the spot by asking the question. It states, I'm just hoping I'm on the right report, that Division 3 is going to experience the greatest growth in the region, which at first I just about had a heart attack when I read that, but noting that 600 new dwellings are proposed for Canungra in the report, but 6,300, give or take, for Division 3, that leaves about 5,700 or so for the remainder of Division 3. Now, I'm assuming that's Kerry Road and Kreiner would be the looking at the maps, they would be seen to be the location. That's still 5,700 homes. I'm really just confirming that that figure is actually accurate, and that's what we're anticipating.
Through the Chair, yes, you're correct. Through the maps attached to the report showing the increase in what the existing dwellings are compared to the future, it is in that southern part of the desert, around that Kerry and Mount Lindesay Highway going east from that point of view. The assumptions are based off of the available developable land, based off our current assumptions of average lot size and available development land after you take out the respective constraint land and national average of land that's consumed for roads and other type of infrastructure from that perspective.
Thank you. So best we get this stormwater and roads infrastructure up to scratch, because, yeah, it's going to be pretty hectic, sounds like, for the next 20 years. Thank you.
Any further questions? Councillor Crier.
More so a comment, because I did forward a question to Shane some time ago after the briefing report, and I was questioning the total dwelling growth in projected for Division 2, which was about 12%, and I was informed that the major growth of Division 2 is in the northern part of Bow Desert, including Gleneagle and Verisdale Scrub. So I was concerned about the figures, but that kind of allayed my fears that the figures were incorrect for actually Tambourine.
Thank you, councillor. Anyone wishing to talk against the motion? I put the motion to the members. Those in favour? Those against? Call for a division. Motion carried.
Sorry, what was your vote, Mr Mayor?
In favour.
In favour. So just councillor Hay against.
And Mayor, councillor, division 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in favour. Thank you.
Yeah.
Call upon councillor Cryer to introduce item 1110.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to introduce item 11.10, Domestic and Family Violence Commitment Statement. I take the report as read, and I would like to move the motion that 1. Council adopt the Scenic Rim Regional Council Domestic and Family Violence Commitment Statement under the banner Scenic Rim Says Enough. 2. Council participate in the formal signing of the commitment statement after today's ordinary meeting, marking the final day of the 16 days of activism. 3. Council approve the publication of the commitment statement on Council's website and its use in relevant internal and external communication channels. And 4. Council endorse continued work by the Domestic and Family Violence Champions Network to integrate the commitment statement into council operations, community campaigns and future domestic and family violence initiatives.
Thank you, councillor. Seconded to the motion, councillor Sanders. Anyone wish, councillor Cryer, would you like to talk to your motion?
Yes, thank you, Chair. This report seeks Council's endorsement of the Scenic Rim Says Enough Domestic and Family Violence DFV commitment statement and Council's participation in the signing of the statement to occur today on the 10th of December 2025, so that this aligns with the International Human Rights Day and marks the final day of the global 16 days of activism against gender-based violence campaign. The commitment statement reflects Council's leadership role in preventing violence, promoting respect and strengthening community and organisational safety. It aligns with the National Plan to End Violence Against Women and Children, which was put forward for 2022 and to 2032, and the contemporary expectations of local government as a civic leader in DFV prevention. Adoption and signing of this statement will provide a strong and visible declaration that the Scenic Rim stands united against domestic, family, gender-based and digital violence. It will also serve as a foundation for ongoing work, including policy development, workforce initiatives, community partnerships and prevention activities. The purpose of the commitment statement is to publicly affirm Council's stance that any form of violence has no place in the Scenic Rim. It's also to provide a unifying message under the banner Scenic Rim Says Enough, signal to staff, residents and partner organisations that Council is committed to safety, respect and early intervention, enhance consistency across workplace policies, procedures and community-facing messaging, strengthen relationships with DFE services and the DFE Council, and position Council as a visible, proactive local government leader in DFE prevention. The proposed DFE commitment statement states that the Scenic Rim Regional Council stands united against all forms of domestic, family, gender-based and digital violence, and that we will commit to fostering a community where every person is safe, respected and supported at home, in public and online. We will pledge to lead with integrity, promote a culture of respect, support prevention and early intervention, and work in a partnership with local service and our community to create a scenic rim where violence has no place. So ultimately, Scenic Rim says enough, be safe online, safe at home and safe together.
Thank you, councillor. Is there any questions? Any further comment? I would, anyone wishing to talk against the motion? And just quickly add to that support in terms of the position and the work that you've done, councillor Cryer. Councillor Sanders, no. The work that you've done, and thank you for that, and also to the community groups and to Carla, in terms of led by Zonta or supported by the Lions and Rotary organisation, and the march that we saw recently in Bedezit. Congratulate you on that and the commitment made by this region. If there is, did you wish to add anything to the motion?
Inclusive, thank you, Chair. Inclusive in that the groups would be also YFS. And yes, that was a great event to march against domestic and family violence at the recent march. Just that was about 3 days into the 16 days of activism. And so this is like very significant to actually do this commitment statement on the final day of the 16 days of activism.
Thank you. And congratulations to all involved and part of the region. I'll put it to the members. Those in favour of the motion? Carried unanimously. Thank you. This juncture, I'm just going to call for a very quick rest break and would look for a motion from the floor to adjourn the meeting and coming back in 15 minutes. Could I have a motion? Councillor Hay? Thank you. Call for a seconder. Councillor McInnes. Those in favour? Motion carried. Call the meeting adjourned. Thank you. Thank you and welcome back. And could I have a motion to resume the meeting from the floor, please? Councillor Moriarty?
I move that the ordinary meeting be resumed.
Thank you. Seconder? Councillor Hay? Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. And now call upon Councillor Hay to introduce item 1111.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to introduce item 11.11, the unaudited monthly financial report for November 2025, bearing in mind that the comparative budget used in this report is the September budget review adopted budget, whereas the October 2025 report used the original adopted budget. So there's just a slight change to the methodology there. And also noting that this, due to report deadlines, this report goes to the 27th of November 2025 rather than the 30th of November. So I'd like to move the motion that Council receive the unaudited monthly financial report for November 2025.
Thank you. Seconder to the motion. Councillor Moriarty. Councillor Hay?
Yes, I would like to just speak to the motion. I didn't find any anomalies in that report. However, Councillor Cryer has raised an issue. If we could just bring up page 266 of the agenda, please. Councillor Cryer, do you want to talk about this?
Councillor Cryer?
Thank you. Thank you. It was not an issue, it's just a question in relation to the last paragraph, statement of financial position. Cash is 15.826 million lower than budgeted expectations, which is fine, but largely due to capital expenditure tracking ahead of the budget and capital receipts tracking behind the budget. Could I have just some clarity with that in relation to the previous two paragraphs on capital expenditure there mainly and capital revenue?
Through you, Mr. Chair. Thanks for the question, Councillor Cryer. Essentially, as we move the carry forward budget, particularly for the capital expenditure over, there hasn't been an opportunity to essentially go back and review the cash flows about how that money is going to be spent throughout the year. It's actually a good thing that we're tracking ahead of budget in relation to the capital delivery at this point in time. We are tracking a little behind because there is always a timing difference between when the grants are received and when we actually undertake the work, and that predominantly is in relation to that work we do around the disaster recovery works, and often that money is paid by instalments on completion of the work, so there'll always be a timing difference there. Essentially, we would like the capital program to continue to track ahead of budget, bearing in mind that we're headed towards some seasonal impacts that might slow the growth of that capital program through what might be the wetter months of the year. But otherwise, things are tracking okay, and we do still remain in a stable position. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you for that explanation. Any further questions? Councillor Moriarty?
No, thanks.
Anyone wishing to talk against the motion? Councillor Hay?
No, I don't need to speak any further, thank you.
I'll put it to the members. Those in favour of the motion? Motion carried unanimously. Thank you. And now call upon Councillor Chalk to introduce item 11.12.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Today I'll introduce report 11.12, which is the annual procurement policy review. I'll take the report as read, and I'll start with moving a motion that Council adopt the updated procurement and contract management policy, which provides a summary of the requirements under the default contracting procedures in the Local Government Regulations 2012.
Thank you. Seconded to the motion, Councillor Cryer. Councillor Chalk, would you like to talk to the motion?
Probably just add that I've read through the policy and it looks quite good to me. I think it will set council up to have a good system in place to do their business through this policy. So unless there's any questions to the manager, I'd leave it at that.
I do have a question, if that's okay.
Councillor Sanders?
Through the chair to the officers, just wanted to know how you're proceeding with your training and what the feedback is, how the organisation is learning, and do you feel it's getting good feedback, please?
Thank you for the question, Councillor Sanders. We have conducted a couple of sessions already, probably about 60 to 70 staff have been through that training. There's another session scheduled for tomorrow, which should see those numbers up around 100 for the organisation. Feedback has been relatively positive so far. There's been good engagement with the staff. Questions are being asked as we progress through, but we're also looking at how we can practically apply the policy into our daily work routines, in making sure that we're using procurement as an enabler to work better as an organisation, even understanding what our compliance obligations are. There are significant improvements for us to continue to make, but we're making solid progress at this point in time. Thank you.
I note the word solid progress, that's good.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you. Other questions? Councillor Hay?
Thank you. Through the chair to the officer, I just have a question relating to page 279 of the agenda. And the question is, which will come first, council's IT upgrades and system improvements, or the AI policy? And does the current IT system have the ability to run the procurement AI bot?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Two parts to that. The AI is being incorporated into the software as it continues to develop. So we generally take 2 releases to the software each year, known as an A release and a B release. We will see 2026A probably about February, in which case we will take those options on board as part of our improvements for the procurement supply chain modules associated with Technology 1. And so it will essentially develop in concert with the changes in processes that we're undertaking at the moment. And in relation to the AI bot, that technology exists for us now. We have in a draft form an AI or an artificial intelligence framework to bring up for council's awareness. That framework will also empower a policy which we have in a draft form, and that will provide the necessary underpinning before we actually roll out the technology of the bot being used. So yes, we have the technology, but we actually need to put the controls and the framework in place before we let the technology loose, if I call it that. So I hope that's answered your question, Councillor Hay.
Yes, thank you. And if I may, just an observation. On page 281, it mentions non-centralised procurement, and it's good to note that this does provide room for education and training across the organisation for those who aren't engaged in the centralised processes. And also the new purchases table on page 286 clearly articulates the minimum requirements for quotes going forward, which is a step in the right direction. Thank you.
Just a comment, if you would make available, I think of interest to the people in our region, is how we engage with our suppliers and service providers. It's very important in terms of the economic impact council has in awarding those tenders, and the challenges. Any new system can be challenging for those suppliers and service providers in terms of how they interface. So what's the council engagement? Is there an encouragement process? Are we trying to smooth that ride for our local businesses?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I might ask Heike for a comment as well. We've certainly put in there a paragraph around local supplier and participation. After we've completed this round of training and the second round of training with staff scheduled for January. It is intended that we would undertake what I'd term doing business with council sessions for our suppliers right across the region. So probably around that February, March period, we would look to take the new policy forward with our newly trained staff, engage with suppliers on exactly how we go about it and how we can work with suppliers more effectively. These have been sessions I've been involved with in other local government areas across Queensland. They're generally well received. They would be held generally outside of hours across our major township areas where suppliers do participate. And I know that we do receive supply arrangements outside a region, but we would contact all suppliers on our current database as well as publicly advertise for those engagements to make sure that we're getting relevant people in the room. At that time, if there are any necessary paperwork or assistance that we can provide to suppliers, happy to work through that. I know the implementation of our safety component did draw some feedback, but we'll continue to work with that company and our safety team to make sure all suppliers are on board. Do you have anything else to add, Heike?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We also work with the economic development team to upgrade our website, for council website, to give more information regarding how to get tenders, and we're improving that as part of the program as well. And I think that's the only item I want to add. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's very good. Any further questions? Councillor McInnes.
Yes, Mayor, to the Director. Would you suggest, and it's subjective, I granted, but I hear comments back from different suppliers that some of the hoops they have to go through with council, they don't have to go through with other state government bodies or Energexes and the police and whatever that they might deal with. Are we making it too hard for to some of our local suppliers?
If I
Subjective, I granted, Jason.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, in response to that, we are trying to simplify our own processes internally, which will in turn simplify how we go about those engagements with local suppliers. What we're trying to do is provide more structured approaches to how procurement is applied through the organisation. The tools exist in the local government regulation for us to have a range of different supply arrangements that isn't necessarily always about requests for quotes and requests for tenders. We can set up supply arrangement through panel type arrangements and standing offer arrangements which are multi-year. And whilst there's work up front, both for the organisation, council and the suppliers, it does actually streamline everyone's involvement in the procurement process. So we're working really hard over the next 6 months or so to try and get some of our high volume transactional information into those structured supply arrangements, some of which will require us to bring our reports to council to approve those panels. So it is a process, I suppose, that we need to work through a little bit methodically, but the intent is to make it simpler for staff and simpler for suppliers, Deputy Mayor. Yep.
Thank you. Anyone wishing to talk against the motion? Councillor Chalk, would you like to sum up?
No, this discussion's been quite extensive, so I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. I put it to the members. Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Call upon Councillor Hay to introduce item 11.14. 13, Councillor, if that's the case, call upon Councillor McInnes to introduce item 11.13.
Thanks, Mayor. I'd like to introduce 11.13 Local Government Association of Queensland Special General Meeting. I'll go straight to the motion that I might go to the business just as an explanation for a start off. The business of the special general meeting is to consider and vote on one motion as follows. Purpose of motion to seek the members' views on whether they still support the LGAQ's policy position, which reflects the views of members since 2012 that councillors should not be required to vacate their office as a councillor in the event that they nominate and campaign for election to the Queensland Parliament. And the motion is that LGAQ maintains its members' current policy position held since 2012 that councillors should not automatically stop being a councillor in the event that they nominate and campaign for election to the Queensland Parliament. I so move.
Thank you. A seconder to the motion? Councillor Cryer. Councillor McInnes?
There are mixed views on this, Mayor, and I'm jumping backwards and forwards on it too, and I can see why the LGAQ have had this position, and on balance, I think I still do support it, but it was, times change, and I think it's, I think the community actually are a bit questionable of people who do. If you're elected to the position, you should be there for the full term, and health apart from that. But if they go and stand for another role and then get defeated and then they want to come back to their job. So as a councillor, I think their credibility does suffer a bit. But I can see that it is better, but the way it is, and I do support the motion.
Thank you. Any questions? Anyone wishing to talk against the motion? Councillor Moriarty.
Oh, thank you, Chair. My personal opinion, not trying to speak on behalf of anyone else, I can see the state's point of view on this matter, and I think if a councillor, runs for local government election, holds themselves out that they want to be part of the local government and represent their division or their local government area, then that's a decision they should make, and to the best of their ability, they should fulfil that. Just my personal opinion, I don't see there obviously are people at times who take time out from their councillor duties to campaign and run in state elections and not fulfilling their obligation to their local constituents during that time, and I'm probably personally more aligned to the state point of view of this than LGAQ point of view.
Thank you. Councillor Sanders.
It's just interesting with the federal for running for federal government that the federal government actually wanted to restrict people as well in local government from actually doing exactly this, and I don't believe it got up. In fact, so only the state is trying to make this happen. But one of the issues that I do have, agreeing with Councillor Moriarty, the people are in these roles and they're doing their jobs in the community, and then they decide to run for another role. It does smack a little bit of of having one bet each way. So I can understand why the LGAQ has put this motion up. I'm just going to support option one. I'm happy with that, but it does throw council into a terrible issue if you've got someone off campaigning and not doing their role. It's very, very difficult, but I'll still support option one. Thanks.
Well,
We're on option one, aren't we? Yep.
Wasn't sure if that was for or against the.
It's just a discussion. Sorry.
Anyone? Well, just very quickly, I'll talk against the motion and. In the absence of anyone else, only because I do support slightly, it is a conflicting one, but I do support the state government's initiative, not only here but the overall bill, and I support the reasoning that they put this forward. The state government elections are now aligned with the local government elections in the same year, following only 6 months after the local government election. And it's very much to remind elected representatives of their responsibility and to fulfil that obligation that they have made to the people. Because of that, that calendar is now well set out. I think the people are deserving of better, and as I said, the elected representative needs to meet their obligations to the people. Thank you. Anyone wishing to talk for? Councillor Cryer.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I understand about the calendar as you just have a council member elected and then they want to 6 months later run for state election. That would be a concern, but I think that in any capacity of representing people, their community on any level is worthy of, you know, the individual who wants to do it, and I don't see why they should actually have to lose their job, so to speak, you know, while they're campaigning. And I also take on board Councillor Sanders' comments that they really need to focus their whole effort onto their role that they've been elected for and not on the campaign. So, but I just feel that you should be able to represent on any level in any level of government, and if the opportunity presents itself, then you should be able to have that, and then if unsuccessful, remain in your role. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone wishing to speak against? I'll put it back to Councillor McInnes.
Yes, Mayor, my apologies. I did read the earlier part up the top and I didn't come down to the recommendation, and maybe I should just, in summing up, read out the full recommendation, and that is that 1, Councillor note that an affirmative vote at the special general meeting at the Local Government Association of Queensland supports the current policy position on the issue and does not support the state government's proposed amendment. And 2, Council authorise the Mayor to vote in favour of the motion, which is that the LGA gear maintains its members' current position held since 2012, that councillors should not automatically stop being a councillor in the event that they nominate and campaign for the election to the Queensland Parliament. Apologies, Mayor, for not doing that, but people were probably following that.
Thank you, Councillor. Would you like to sum up?
Yeah, I really haven't got anything to add. I dare say that it'll be interesting to see what the vote at the LGA across councils is on this. There'll be, I think it might be fairly split. But I haven't got anything further to add. There are, and it's good that there are different opinions, and I concur with, I can see why people think the way they are thinking on it.
Thank you. I'll put it to the members. Those in favour of the motion? Those against? Call for motion carried. Call for a division. Those in favour? Division 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6 against the Mayor and Councillor, and Division 3. Now call upon Councillor Hay to introduce item 11.14.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to introduce late item 11.14, review council policy, councillor portfolios. And by way of background, this has been discussed in a briefing session with various views put forward, and since this agenda was released, I have reconsidered my position on this and will be moving an alternate motion. Oh, sorry, a different motion to what was originally proposed, which was forwarded through to Sharon. No. 3:52 a.m.
Is that,
Because Jennifer and I obviously could not sleep.
Is that lay the item on the table? No?
I can read it to you or email it to you, what would you prefer?
The last one I had was lay it on the table.
No, that was, no. I thought we were going with,
Oh, okay. Councillor Moriarty's just email it, I'll
Yep.
just grab it when it comes in.
okay, I'll read it out. My motion is that council officers bring back a framework to council by the 27th of February 2026 to establish a planning committee.
I think I do now. Yes, got it.
Council by 20. Could I have a seconder to the motion? Councillor Moriarty. Councillor Hay, do you wish to talk to your motion?
Yes, thank you, Chair. The reasoning behind this amended motion is that in hindsight, I'm not of the opinion that a planning portfolio would necessarily result in the desired change or improved planning decision-making and outcomes. And in my opinion, the growth coming to our region in the immediate and distant future calls for a better resourced planning section, and I appreciate that we are under-resourced and are having difficulty with recruitment in that area, but that we also need a mechanism by which development applications can be progressed in a more timely manner. The planning committees established in other councils appear to work well. I don't think we'd be necessarily reinventing the wheel from scratch. We could learn from how other councils have set up planning committees and use that as a basis moving forward, in my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor. Any questions? No questions. Anyone wishing to talk against the motion?
Sorry, through Mr. Mayor. Just to comply with the meeting and other procedures policy that we have, is it establish a planning standing committee? I'm using that word very,
Yes, thank you.
it's just, it reflects what's coming through in the Act.
So you're amending your motion, councillor, to include?
Yes, yes, I'll amend my motion to include the word standing committee. Thank you.
Councillor Moriarty. You second that? Accept that amendment?
Yes, thank you, Chair.
Are there any questions arising?
Yes.
Councillor McInnes.
Yes, Mayor, and I'm assuming, and I take it from the CEO's suggestion of having standing committee, this will be a public, and for the people listening in, it'll be open to the public, this committee, when it meets. Question.
Thank you.
If it's a standing committee, I would imagine, I'll ask the CEO maybe,
Yes.
it will be a public meeting.
Through Mr. Mayor, I believe we got the details from a number of other councils and presented them. They indicated, yes, it's a standing committee, yes, it's open to the public, yes, it has to be appropriately serviced, and yes, it will change the delivery of items to the ordinary meetings as well.
Thank you. Question, councillor Sanders?
Oh, just a feedback. You probably all know this. So we did have committees when I was in previously, which I know is a lot of years ago now, and I'm not quite sure whether it added a lot, but anyway. Just as long as we know we've only got 4 DA staff and we're months behind, as long as everyone's aware. And look, I was happy for Councillor Hay to be appointed the councillor for the portfolio. I'm not quite sure if this is the right way to go. There is so much documentation, so much more work. We'll have to close, I assume, we'll close the meeting and then go into the next meeting. That's what I'm just assuming, that we'll. So, look, if this adds anything, adds any benefit, and saves us any money, time or energy, I'd be all for it. It's not Councillor Hay or anything like that. It's just, I was quite happy with the portfolio, just don't know what the benefit of the committee is, and so I'll leave my comments at that.
Are you talking, that wasn't a question, so you're talking for or against the motion, just to clear?
That's against.
Thank you. Anyone talking for the motion?
Yes, thank you, Chair. If I may, just it's becoming increasingly apparent with we've just passed a policy for future dwellings and for the region with the scope, the amount, the sheer volume and amount of development that's coming into the region in the next period of years. I think it's particularly important that we do have a planning standing committee that informs the direction and future of our region, development for our region. I think it's incredibly important. Just last week we had a briefing session, which I think there was, I don't know how many items on the agenda, but probably 90% of the session was tied up with planning matters, and there were a number of items which we just didn't get to or couldn't get through due to the sheer volume. So I think separating planning, taking planning off the, having a separate planning standing committee to deal with planning matters will free up other briefings and sessions to deal with other matters.
Thank you. Anyone wishing to talk against the motion?
Probably just a statement, Mayor, and not going one way or the other on it, but it'll be interesting to see how much, even with the planning committee, how much time we do actually still have to spend in briefing sessions with updates. I don't agree with what Councillor Moriarty. I don't think it probably will save us too much time. I think we'll be still doing a fair bit of that in the briefing sessions as well. It's which may be a good thing too, but it's.
I think he was referring more to a dedicated time, as in creating further time.
Yeah, but anyway, time will tell.
Yeah. Sorry, Councillor. Did you have something for it? Okay.
Chair, would it be appropriate to ask the relevant directors' feelings going forward? No? Okay.
Anyone wishing to talk for the motion? I put it to the floor. Those in favour? Motion carried unanimously. All right, we are now going to move into confidential. And if I could please have a motion from the floor. Councillor Moriarty.
Thank you, Chair. I move that in accordance. Thank you, Chair. I move that in accordance with Council standing orders for council meetings policy and provisions of Section 254J3 of the Local Government Regulation 2012, Council close the meeting to public to discuss confidential items as follows. 12.1, consideration for the strategic disposal of land. Closed. Section 254J3G, as discussions will be held about the subdivision and disposal of a part of land.
Thank you. Seconded to the motion. Councillor Chalk. Those in favour? Carried unanimously. And now as we go into closed, we'll look back to come back at 12 p.m. or on the half hour thereafter. Thank you. Thank you and welcome back. And could I have a motion from the floor, please? Councillor Moriarty?
I move that council resume to open session for the proposal of resolutions.
Seconder? Councillor Cryer, those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Now come back into open and call upon Councillor Chalk to introduce item 12.1.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Today I introduce report 12.1, which is consideration for the strategic disposal of land, closed under section 254J3G. I'll take the report as read and I'll just move the following motion. That 1, council agree to the subdivision of a part of land as identified. 2, council resolve that the exception under section 2361BI of the Local Government Regulations 2012 applies to the proposed disposal of land as identified in the body of this report, inclusive of any access, way rights or interests by adjoining council-owned land. And 3, council delegate authority to the Chief Executive Officer in accordance with section 2571 of the Local Government Act 2009 to finalise and execute a sale agreement to the State of Queensland on terms to the satisfaction of the Chief Executive Officer.
Thank you. Seconded to the motion, Councillor Moriarty. Councillor Chalk, highlighting being in confidential. Did you want to say anything further?
No, I'm supportive of this. I think it's a good report and good move. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone wishing to talk against the motion? No. I put it to the floor. Those in favour? The motion is carried unanimously. And that draws the official part of the meeting to a close. And I would just like, with that, being the last council meeting for 2025, to acknowledge the season that we're now entering into, a festive one at that, but to wish everyone in the region, if they're travelling, to be very safe on our roads and to enjoy that time with family over the festive break, and to thank everyone in the region for the support that we've had. It's been another challenging year in 2025, starting off with Cyclone Alfred, and it's been bookended by a very early storm season. So we have to be vigilant all the way through, and please, everyone, remember those safety rules in terms of if it's flooded, forget it. We want everyone to be safe at this time of the year. And again, we wish you, on behalf of all councillors, a very Merry Christmas and all the best for the new year. Thank you very much.